Hello everyone, today we are going to be having a look at Premiere Pro. This is the software obviously that you'll be using to edit together your stories. Some of you have used it before, so you'll be familiar with it. First thing we need to do obviously is open up the software itself, so you can either access it from the app player, or if you have it at home you can access it from your Adobe license. I'm going to access mine from the start window here. You'll see this this icon come up as it's loading. Okay, so just drag that up. Just wait for the page to load. Okay, so I'm going to create a new project. So when you're creating a new project, you'll see a window that comes up that looks like this. This obviously lets you rename your project and lets you select where you're going to save it. So I'm going to call my project something that makes sense to me. So mine's going to be called Princess Avenue Cycle Lane. Project. And then in this little box here you can change your location, so it's up to you where you're saving, because I think everybody's under a slightly different situation at the moment. So if you want to select where you're saving, you can click Browse. And then I'm wanting to save on my OneDrive account, my Liverpool John Moores University OneDrive. So if I click there, it's taken me through to this window here. I've already got my footage saved in a folder here called Adobe Premiere Pro Cycle Lane. Yep, so you may have your footage straight from the camera that you've saved either on your OneDrive, or you've saved it in Edit Share, or you've got it saved on your computer at home. Just navigate to it wherever you have it saved, your footage. So I'm going to click in there. I'm going to select that folder. Okay, so you can see it's changed to my Liverpool John Moores University OneDrive. In that folder, Adobe Premiere Pro Cycle Lane project. Okay, I'm just going to check our scratch discs that everything is the same as project. Okay, so once you've checked that, I'm going to click OK at the bottom. And now you can see that we have got a lovely workspace here. Now I'm just going to make it full screen so we can see it a little bit better. So if we have a look at this workspace, we can see we've got several windows here. We've got this window up here in the top left, which is the source window, or sometimes we call it the source monitor. This is a window where you can actually play back your clips, and you can use it to mark sections of your clip that you'd like to use in your edit. Down here in the bottom left, we've got your project window. This is where you'll import your footage into. You've got your program window here up on the top right. This is the window that lets you see what's in your timeline and how you've edited it together. And then you've got your timeline window down here at the bottom, and this is actually where you make your edits. Okay, so as we've just talked about, we've got our window down here, this projects window. So what we need to do is actually import our footage. So I'm going to do the easiest way to import, which is I'm going to right click in this project window, And you see I get an option here, import. So I'm going to import. And then I'm going to look and see where my footage is saved. Now Premiere's actually automatically opened up this folder where my footage is, but if yours hasn't, you can navigate to where you've just saved your footage and your project. So mine was in this Adobe Premiere Pro cycle lane. You can see there's my project saved there, Princess Avenue cycle lane project. And here's my Princess Avenue cycle lane footage. Okay. So I want to import all of this footage, which is footage from my camera and from my audio recordings. Okay, so I've highlighted all of those clips and I'm going to click open. Now we get a window that is showing that we're importing our files with a status bar. Okay, so you can see all of my footage is now in my project window. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to make a new bin. I'm going to right click, new bin. Just going to scroll down to see the bin. And I'm going to rename this bin by right clicking, rename, and I'm going to call it my sequence. Okay, this way when I am looking at all of my media and searching for clips, I'm not getting confused with which are clips and which are the actual edited sequences. Okay, so I'm just going to double click in this bin. So you can see now I'm in this sequences bin. And I want to make a new sequence, so I'm going to right click, new item, sequence. Okay, and then I get this new sequence window. Now this is actually where I can change my sequence settings. For today, what we're going to do is we're going to, let me just close that for you. So you can see we have all of these options. So we're going to select this DNX HD preset. So we click on there, and then you can see we've got this, all of these options here, but we've got this 1080i 50 bin. I'm just going to click down there, and we're going to select this DNX HQ 1080i 50. That's the sequence settings that we'd like. That's our preset. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. Oh, sorry. First of all, I'm going to change the sequence name. Okay, so I've called my sequence Princess Avenue cycle lane sequence. Click OK. Okay, so now I have a sequence here, which is a space on my timeline window where I can actually import my clips for editing. Okay, so in order to have a look at my clips, I'm going to click on this little arrow next to my sequence bin so that I can go back to the project and back to my media here. Okay. Okay, so if we are going to drag up a clip, so I have an interview here. Now this is actually footage from a student called Jorge Capera, and he has agreed to let me use his footage today, so thank you very much, Jorge. So in order to see that footage in my source window, I clicked and dragged. Yeah, so you're just clicking and dragging to see the clip in your source window. If I now press play on my keyboard...
It's recording? Okay, there you go. So, can you tell me a little bit what is the matter with this spot right here?
Okay, so behind me there's one of the traffic cut-throughs of the boulevard, and the original plan...
So you can see I've got an interview clip here, It's actually a cyclist. He's the editor of Pedal Press magazine, and his name is Slim Smith. So he is talking to Jorge about this new proposed cycle lane on Princes Avenue. Okay. So you can see at the start of this clip, there was a section where Jorge actually asked him the question. Now, when you're interviewing people on the street, or you're doing vox pops, or you're just doing a straight interview, you may want to cut out your question at the start. You may want to cut out sections of the start and end of your clip. So you'll want to mark in and out points in your clip to make edit points. So you can do that in the source window. And the easiest way to do that is to use the I on your keyboard for the in points and the O on your keyboard for the out points. So I'm going to use this little playhead to scrub to the part of the clip where I want my edit to start. Let me have a quick look.
What is the matter with this spot right here?
Okay, so I'd like it to start right here. So I'm going to press I on my keyboard, and you see it's made an in point just here. So it's selected from that point onwards. Yep. So let's have a look what happens at the end.
Traffic, and it's less safe than the original plans.
Okay, fair enough, thank you.
Okay, so I'd like to stop it just before that. Okay, so I can press an O on my keyboard now, and you see it's made a selection there, my in point and my out point. Okay, so once we have a clip selected, we have a section selected, you want to move that, you want to move that into your timeline. Okay, so again, we're going to do one of the ways that you can bring down footage from your source window into your timeline. We're going to do the easiest way. We're going to click and drag. Okay, and can you see it's brought down just that little section of the clip that we marked up. So I'm going to move it to the start of my timeline and let go. And now my clip is in the timeline.
So behind me there's one of the traffic cut-throughs of the boulevard, and the original plan...
Okay, so down in the timeline, this is our playhead, and we can actually click and drag to scrub through the clip. You can also press play, you can press space on your keyboard to play, and you can also press space to stop. You can use actually as well some shortcuts on your keyboard for scrubbing through and rewinding your clip. So if you're playing.
So behind me there's one of the traffic cut-throughs of the boulevard. And the original is going to be...
I press the L and it allows me to quickly scrub through the clip. If I want to go backwards, I can press J on my keyboard. Okay, so you've got the option of J on your keyboard to scrub backwards and the option of L on your keyboard to scrub forwards through a clip. Okay, so now that I have a clip down in my timeline, I want to bring some more clips in. I'm going to look for another clip that I'd like at the start to set the scene. Here we go. Clicking and dragging up into the source window. If I just have a quick look at this. Okay, I've got a shot there of the location setting the scene shot. So let's mark some in point with my eye on my keyboard. Okay, and I marked an out point by pressing O on my keyboard. So now I've got a selection here. Now, if I now try and drag this down into my timeline, watch what happens. Do you see I've got some transparent boxes here? that are hovering over the footage that I already have in my timeline. So if I now drop this footage here, it's actually overwritten the footage that I already had in my timeline. Now I'll show you what I mean by that.
And pedestrians and cyclists would have.
Now you can see what it did was it actually overwritten over the clip that was already in my timeline. Now I don't want to do that here. There may be a situation where you do want to do that, but right here with this clip I don't. I want to actually insert that clip at the start rather than overwrite the sequence. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick undo, the shortcut for undo, Control Z on a Windows. Okay, so now I am going to show you how you can insert clips. So make sure you're moving playhead to where you actually want the clip to be inserted. So I've moved my playhead right to the start of this clip here. Okay, in my program window. Yeah, you can see I'm right at the start. So now I want this selection that I've made to go in this space here before this clip. So you can see I've got some little buttons down here on the source monitor. You've got a button here that says insert, and you've also got a button here that says overwrite. Yeah, so we want to insert the clip. So we're going to click that button, and you see it inserted that clip just here before our interview.
So behind me there's one of the traffic cut-throughs.
Okay, so again, maybe I want to add some more clips in. I want to set the tone, or maybe I've got a voiceover that I want to put down, and I need to add some footage. So let's have a look what else we've got. We've got this footage here. Okay, I'll mark an in point. And an out point. And again, I'll move my playhead to where I want the clip inserted. Now you can actually, as well as using your mouse to click and drag, you can actually move frame by frame through the timeline by pressing the forward and backward keys on your keyboard. See, I'm going frame by frame now. Okay, let me go back. Okay. So I want my clip to insert there. So again, insert.
So behind.
Okay, and maybe I want another clip. What else have I got? This one. I've got a road closed clip. I'll mark that in. Mark that out. Let's insert that clip down here. We'll move with our forward and backward keys frame by frame to find the right place. There we go. Insert. Okay, so you can see we've made a quick little edit down there with 1, 2, 3, with 4 shots. We can use these little toggles at the bottom to zoom in and zoom out on our timeline to make it a little bit easier to see what we're doing. So I'm going to zoom in just to see what I've got on my timeline here a little easier. You can also zoom in using these toggles at the side to have a look at the audio a little larger, or similarly the look at the video a little larger. Now you can see your clips. Yep. Okay, so we've got some establishing shots. We've got our interview. So maybe what we want to do next is we want to put in a voiceover. Okay. So let me have a look. So the same way that I did with my video clips, I'm going to click and drag up into the source window. And you can see exactly the same way as we edited the video, we can actually edit the audio. So I'm just going to have a quick listen.
Among the groups of cyclists consulted, there are concerns over accessibility to the cycle lane and the danger of riding on the roundabout at the end of the avenue.
Okay, so I can hear at the start of that clip, Jorge repeated himself. So I want to get rid of that little repetition. So let's drag this playhead backwards to mark our in and out points.
Among the groups of cyclists,
So that's where he starts his second repetition. So I'm going to put an I there because I don't want that section at the start. And then I'm going to move my play and I'm going to put my O there. So now I've got this section of audio that I'd like to use. Now you'll notice if I click and drag, it won't allow me to click and drag this audio down into my timeline. Okay, so I need to use, do you see you've got two little buttons here? You've got one that says drag video only and one that says drag audio only. So we want to drag the audio down into our timeline. Okay, I'm just going to make this a little smaller so it's easier to see. There we go. So you can see on the side here we've got these A1, A2, A3. These are our audio tracks. The tracks that have a V. Oops. You have V1, V2, V3. These are video tracks. So we want to drag this audio down into a new audio track. So I'm going to click and drag. And there we go. We've got our voiceover down here now. Zoom in a little. Move my playhead. Okay. So if I have a listen to this now.
Among the groups of cyclists consulted, there are concerns over accessibility to the...
You can hear I've got a voiceover there and also the sync sound that's recorded from the camera on the road. So you could see that the levels were a little off. So what we're going to do is we're going to lower the volume of this recorded sync sound on the camera. Okay. Now there are a couple of ways to do this, but again I'm going to show you the easiest and the quickest. So we're going to zoom in to our audio, and when we zoom in, there we go. Do you see there's a white line running all the way through your audio tracks? So we can actually use this line, clicking and dragging on it, to decrease or increase the volume of a particular clip. Now what we want to do obviously is we want to decrease the volume because this noise from the camera was too loud. Okay, so you can see I've dragged that line down. If we have a listen now.
Are concerns over accessibility to the cycle lane and the danger of riding on the roundabout at the end of the avenue.
Okay, so you can see now that audio from the camera is a lot quieter and we're able to hear the voiceover a lot better. Okay, so we're going to do that quickly for all the rest of the clips. Okay. I'm also going to just trim these clips down because we want these clips to be around the same duration as this audio clip, this audio voiceover down here. Okay, so to trim, we can click on the edge between two clips and drag, because we see a red bracket, we can drag, and that actually shortens the clip. Okay, so I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag, and you see it's shortened these clips. The problem now is we've got these spaces in between the clips. So if I play
to the cycle lane and the danger of riding on the roundabout at the end.
Do you see in those spaces there's just blank space? So we need to click on these clips and drag them so that they no longer have any blank
to the cycle lane and the danger of riding on the roundabout at the
okay. The another way to actually close these gaps is if you right click in the middle of this space. Do you see that ripple delete? That will close the gap. Okay, so you can either click and drag using this selection tool, click and drag to move your clips, or you can right click, ripple delete, and it will close the gaps. Okay, so now if we have a quick look at what we've just done.
Among the groups of cyclists consulted, there are concerns over accessibility to the cycle lane and the danger of riding on the roundabout at the end of the avenue.
So behind me there's one of the traffic cut-through.
Okay, so let's get in for some fine tuning. If I zoom all the way in, I can move frame by frame again with my forward arrows and backwards arrows on the keyboard. So I'm going to start my interview with my interviewee saying so. So there we go, I've clicked and I've dragged to cut out the start of that clip. Going to right click, ripple delete, closes the gap. Okay, I'm going to scrub backwards. And I saw a gap here, so I'm going to right click, ripple delete there. I'm also going to increase the volume of my voiceover. Ideally, what you'd like when you have your voiceover or your interviewees or interviewer speaking is you ideally want the levels to be hitting around -12 decibels. You can see you can use these little decibel level bars on the side here to judge the volume of your sequence on your timeline. So this is my voiceover clip, this green one. So I'm just going to increase the volume slightly by clicking on that white line and dragging it up.
And the danger of riding on the roundabout at the end of the avenue.
Okay, so that's okay. Let's have a look at the interviewee speaking.
So behind me there's one of the traffic cut-throughs of the boulevard, and the original plan, this was going to be blocked off to through traffic.
Okay, so that's looking pretty good. Let's increase the volume of this clip just slightly.
The avenue.
So behind me there's one of...
Okay. Right, you'll notice now that we have this interviewee speaking, but we don't know who he is, and what would be a good idea is to import into your project an interview banner. So if I now go back down into my project window and I right click, import, It's taken me back to the folder in my OneDrive account where my footage was. So if I come back into my OneDrive, back into my Premiere Pro folder, now I've actually copied these files here. They're actually on Edit Share in the new studio space, and they're in a folder called Journo. They're in a folder called Journo Files. Copy from here, don't move! ! So if you just open that folder, you'll see you've got an interview banner, and you've also got the LGMU logo, which I'm not going to worry about now, but I would like to use this interview banner. So it's a good idea to just copy that folder from Edit Share into your OneDrive account. Or if you're working from Edit Share, copy the folder from your from the new studio Edit Share space into your own Edit Share space. Okay? So I'm going to click on this interview banner. I'm going to open. Okay, so it should have imported that file. Let's see if we can see it. There we go, there it is. So I'm going to drag it up into the source window. Drag it up into the source window. There we go. It's already got an in and an out point selected on it. So that's great. I'm just going to drag it now, drag it down here. So you can see it's actually added on this interview banner onto the on top of the interviewee clip. So we want some text on here to explain who this person is. Okay, so you want to explain who your interviewee is. So, in order to create some text, it's very, very simple. You can see we've got some tools just here. I'm going to select this type tool. Okay, and we're just going to click. And we're going to start typing. So okay, so this is his name. I'm going to use my selection tool here to just move the text. Now, that's too large for me, that text. So I can either go into my effect controls, which are up in the source window up here, effect controls. You can see it's where my text is. It's telling me what I've written. Click on the down arrow, and you can see I can change the font here. I can change the size of the text here. I can make various changes in this window, but I'm just going to do the very, very, very quick and simple way that this version of Premiere allows you to do, which is you can see if I just hover over this text box in the corner, it gives me this resize button. I'm just going to click and drag it to the size that I like. Okay, so that's good for me. Again, I'm going to make sure that I've got this this selection tool highlighted or selected, and I'm going to move the text. Okay, and then I want to add another text box, so I'm going to click on the type tool again. Click down here. Okay, so I've said editor the Pedal Press magazine. So again, I'm going to click on my selection tool, And I'm just going to hover my mouse over the corner and click and drag. Bit of a delay there. Click and drag to resize. Okay, my selection tool selected to move it. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Now you can see on the timeline itself, it's created a new clip on your video track. Okay, so you can see that I have this yellow line at the top of my timeline here. This means that the contents of my timeline need rendering. So if I don't render, then I may get some playback issues, and I don't want that. So I need to render these clips on my timeline. Okay, so if up at the top here, I'm going to select sequence. And I'm going to render in to out. Now, Premiere will now actually render everything that's in my timeline. Okay, so I get a window telling me the status of the render. Okay, so although I got a little message telling me that the renderer was not responding, if you saw that at the end, if I look down at that little Premiere icon at the bottom, you can see that the status is actually progressing. I can see the green bar moving along, which shows that the render is actually progressing along. Okay, so I can see now that the clips on the timeline have rendered.
Among the groups of cyclists consulted,
the sequence automatically plays after the render's complete. It's that green line at the top of the timeline that shows that all of my clips in my sequence have been rendered. Okay, so now I can drag my clip with the text and move it to start at the same time as my interview banner clip. Okay, so let me have a look at that.
So behind me there's one of the traffic cut-throughs of the boulevard, and the original plan, this was going to be blocked off to through traffic.
Okay, so I am happy with that. Okay, so now that I'm done with the text tool, I'm just going to click back on my source monitor. Okay.
Traffic, and it's less safe than the original plans.
Okay, so you can see when I just played back that clip on my timeline, I got some lag on my playback. Now, do you see this little drop-down menu here? It says full at the moment. This refers to the playback quality of the sequence in your timeline. So now you can see at the moment I'm playing back at full quality. So I can select a different quality. So I'm going to go with a quarter quality. Now, this quality refers only to your playback quality. So when you come to export, it won't affect the export quality at all. It just makes it easier for you to play back your clips on your timeline.
But nonetheless, they're still engaging with motor traffic, and it's less safe than the original plans.
Okay, so you can see that my sequence played there with no lagging at all on quarter quality. So if you're getting some lagging, maybe just try reducing the playback quality in your program window. Okay, so if any of you would like to use a transition, it might be quite a useful option for you if you're wanting something a bit more creative, or maybe your story is emotional. You may want to use a fade out. It's very easy to do on Premiere. If you just move your mouse to the end of a clip and you right click, do you see I get this option, apply default transitions? Yeah, so I'm going to click on apply default transitions. So now you can see it's added a little cross dissolve at the end of my clip. You see that? So if I play,
It's less safe than the original plans.
okay, so you can see that it faded to black. So that might be quite a useful option depending on the story that you are editing. Okay, so when you are happy with everything on your timeline, we need to make an export. So what I would do is just highlight everything on my timeline. I'm going to go up to the top and I'm going to select File, Export, Media. Okay, and then I get this window that comes up letting me change all of my export settings. Okay. Okay, so now if I look at the format and I click on this little drop down, do you see I get all of these different options? Now the option I want is H.264, this option here. Preset, you're going to make sure it's match source high bitrate. If I click down on the drop down, you can see you get lots of different options here. The one we want is the match source high bitrate. Now don't worry too much about trying to choose an export setting that's correct for YouTube. If you try and export at the best quality that you can, which is the match source high bitrate, then YouTube will actually put its own compression on your file. So you're always best exporting at the highest possible quality that you can. Okay, so output name. You see this blue text here? Yeah, if I click on that blue text, then it takes me through to a window where I can choose what I want my file name to be and also where I want the export to save. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure I'm in the place I'm expecting, which is my OneDrive Liverpool John Moores University account. And I'm in my Adobe Premiere Pro Cycle Lane folder. And now I'm in this folder here in my OneDrive. So I want to change my file name. And I'm going to call it Princess Avenue Cycle Lane Export. Okay, it's a video file, an MP4. And I'm going to click Save. Okay, now in this little tab here, this summary box, I can see what my output is going to be. So I can see here that I have got it saved in my Princess Avenue Cycle Lane Export. That's the name of the file. It's going to be 1920 by 1080. That's my resolution. 25 frames per second, which is exactly what I want. And I can see that the audio is 48 kilohertz and 32 bits, and the master is stereo. Okay, so all of this is exactly what I'm expecting it to be. My 1920 by 1080, that's my resolution. 25 frames per second. 48 kilohertz audio, 32-bit, and the master is stereo. These are the things you want to look for when you are doing your own exports. Okay, if any of those are different, then you can click on these tabs at the bottom. You can see I've got 1920 by 1080 here, which is exactly what I want. If not, I can click on this little tick just here, and I can actually change those values. Okay, I don't want to do that. I'm going to keep it as 1920 1080. Frame rate, you can do the same. Change the frame rate and get all of these options, but we're going to keep 25 frames per second. Okay. Yep, so if I change to the audio, we can do the same with the audio. You can see the sample rate is 48 kilohertz or 48,000 hertz. And my channels are stereo. Can change it here. We'll keep ours stereo. Bit rate, here you go. We've got 32. You can use the drop down arrow to change the values, but we're going to leave ours at 32. Okay, so once you're happy with all of those settings, you just want to check down here in the bottom left. This window actually gives you a little preview of what you are exporting. So if you just give it a quick run through and check that you are happy and that it's what you are expecting. Okay, so I'm happy with that. Now, do you see source range here at the very bottom? Just click on that little drop down just there, just to check that you are exporting the entire sequence. Okay, so now I know I'm exporting the entire sequence. Everything that was on my timeline is going to be exported. There we go. Okay, so once I'm happy and I can see that everything is as I'm expecting, I've got the name of my export and it's saving where I want it to, I can click export right at the very bottom. And I'll get a progress window showing me the progress of the export. Okay, it can take a little while. It depends how much footage you have on your timeline and how long your sequence is generally. So we'll just wait for the status bar to complete. Okay. And there we go. Okay, so I can see now my sequence has been exported. If I just close down this window and just double check that my export is where I'm expecting it to be. So I'm expecting it to be in my OneDrive Liverpool John Moores account. And you remember I saved it in Adobe Premiere Pro Cycle Lane folder. And there it is there, Princes Avenue Cycle Lane Export. Okay, so today we've had a look at editing with Premiere Pro, importing, editing, using some of the tools, adding text, transitions, and exporting. Okay, so if you need help with Premiere Pro, you can always contact the technicians at their email address, which is lss.techs@ljmu.ac.uk. That's lss.techs@ljmu.ac.uk, and the technicians will be happy to help you. Thank you, everyone.